Are those Buck Mason jeans?
No, they're Ralph Lauren, Naomi.
Those are the Naomi
glasses collaboration.
Really?
Yeah.
Are
Although I will say
those-
I'm a big fan of the Buck Mason jeans.
Are you?
I only have their full saddle cut. The funny thing is that like you put on like I remember the first time I started wearing slimmer jeans and I was like, this is weird.
Right.
I was wearing really baggy jeans and then I wore slim jeans and I was like, this is weird. And I got used to it, and then now my conception of what is full, like to me, the full saddle is not even a full saddle. It should be called a slim saddle.
The half saddle.
Because it's not actually that full.
No.
It's just that if you've been wearing APCs, then they're like...
What was it, the APC? Weird Guy?
No, APC New Standard.
Oh, no, who's Weird Guy?
Weird Guy, that was Naked and Famous.
Thank you. Naked and Famous.
Yeah. Like those jeans are skin tight. I never actually got into that stuff. That was...
I admired it from afar.
Yeah, but I was not for me.
But I was
like,
that's not.
I couldn't do it.
I can't do that.
But yeah, I really love Buck Mason's full saddle cut.
How do these compare to? They look about the same.
They're
cut.
slimmer. They're slimmer than the full saddle.
Oh, they are. Okay.
But they don't. Listen, I'm not trying to do the social warrior rant or anything, but I'm just saying it's nice that Ralph Lauren has been incorporating actual Native Americans into his collaborations.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, he always has.
Okay.
But he's never
been as public?
Okay. Whereas now he will very transparently, not even transparently, he'll promote the fact that this is designed by
he has been
Native
criticized
American.
by Native American scholars for like taking Native American imagery. And there have been academic, like actual, not talking like there have been blog posts written critically of him, but there's been actual academic papers breaking down how sometimes people use this imagery to reinforce certain ideas of Native American cultures.
Oh, I see.
And I think it's fair criticism. Again,
Sure.
I'm not trying to turn it into like a rant or anything, but I do appreciate that. I don't know if he's done it more in the past or whatever, but certainly in the last couple of years, he's incorporated Native American artists, talked about their work. They are taking active participation in creating what Ralph Lauren puts out, hopefully getting compensated, of course. But also he then talks about their actual work outside of Ralph Lauren, which, elevates their visibility.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff from the Naomi glasses thing that I wish, I end up getting a pair of the white jeans that they put out. And I got the red sweater, but they had this like awesome, like robe belted thing.
I got that and I returned it.
You returned it?
Because it either came in a SM, small, medium, or large, extra large. And I know this because anyone who has experience when buying menswear clothing, if it gives you two sizes, it's always going to be the larger size. Because a large can also fit a small. I mean, they can wear it.
Yeah.
But a small will never fit a large. So I got the LXL and I was swimming in it. I was so sad.
Did you try the small medium?
They were sold out. Yeah, by that time they were sold out. So I had to return it. I was really looking forward to wearing it. And as it so happens, this was one of the experiments that I tried that I thought, actually, I don't know if a robe coat is something I can always wear. I mean, I like it, but it was one of my experiments where, for example, I'm going to be reselling a double RL robe coat that after trying it out, I have the same coat in the ranch coat. It's the same pattern, same fabric, but I thought a robe coat, that'll be more drama.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
And I did. And I wore it to Pitti a year or 2 years ago. And I like it, but I'm like, I think the ranch coat is more me. It's more wearable. And that was an experiment that it was nice to experiment. But I guess my tastes are a little more conservative.
That was another thing that I noticed in the same Naomi glasses collection. They had a line of jeans that came in off-white and blue, and there were the ones that were just just jeans, And then they had the same exact jeans, but embroidered with like Native American motifs down the leg. And I can imagine that looking great on certain people, styled a certain way that are a little bit more adventurous and that have the personality to pull it off. But I knew immediately when I saw, I was like, I'm taking the normal ones.
Yeah.
You know, like the non-embroidered ones. Not that the other ones are bad, but like, it's just, I knew that don't have the personality and the wardrobe to pull that off. And it's not what I personally feel comfortable in. I wanted the just more normal jeans that I could wear with a trucker jacket or, you know, just like a Shetland sweater and whatever, you know? So there were a lot of things in the line that like they did that same thing with like, I think Western shirts. They had like a normal Western shirt.
Right.
And then they had the one that
crazy
was like
embroidered
one. And I knew that like, I already had I have way too many Western shirts in my closet, but I knew that the normal Western shirt is what I'm comfortable in. I wanted the more, if you want to call it a boring version of that offering.
I think a lot of guys struggle with that. And I think it's okay to appreciate a style on someone else, even if your own tastes run a little bit more conservative.
Yeah. In the past few years, I've been, as my social media account has grown, and this has come up in the past before, but more so in the last few years as my social media account has grown, some guys have reached out to me and said, I'm always happy to answer quick style questions, like really simple ones. I don't mind. And then if it's a slightly more complex, I usually ask someone to donate to an animal welfare organization of my choice, like a rescue organization. You donate whatever you want, and I'll provide a more in-depth answer. But some projects are pretty big, and for those, I charge a fee. And I've had a few guys who had larger projects. They are looking for sometimes a wedding suit, or they're looking to rebuild their wardrobe, sometimes a professional wardrobe, whatever it is. And so I charge for that kind of service. And a lot of those guys will approach me, and many of them are just kind of finding their footing in style. Like they're just figuring out what they want.
Yeah.
And I have this philosophy that, we talk about all the time on the pod, that like, clothing is a language and blah, blah, blah. And I always believe that if you start off with certain basics, it will allow you to, one, you can stay in those basics. Like that can be your wardrobe.
If that's all that you are, then fine.
Yeah. Like I believe that if you're just starting on this kind of process and you literally don't like any of the clothes in your wardrobe, then you need to get a pair of blue
Rick
jeans.
Owens, Shirling, asymmetrical jacket.
Rubinacci, blueberry colored double-breasted suits. Yeah. So no, I think you need to get a pair of blue jeans that you love.
Yes.
I think you need to get, I do think, even though most men will wear it like once in a blue moon, I do think everyone needs a real suit, like a navy suit that you can wear, a serious suit that you can wear to weddings and funerals. We talk about that all the time. That's not like a regular wardrobe. That's like, your aunt dies and you got to go, like you need that suit.
Yeah.
I do think outside of that suit, it helps to have a navy sport coat so that, you can just dabble. You could like figure out, do I like navy sport coats? And if it turns out you don't, then you have a garment that you can wear on Mother's Day when you take your mom out to dinner.
Right.
At
least you have it handy.
You could always use a navy sport coat. So you're never going to regret that. You could, speaking of jeans, I do think that most guys are either chino guys or denim guys.
100% agree.
So good to figure that out in the beginning. You may switch.
Are you a chino guy or?
I'm definitely a denim guy.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
But I like chinos. I like
chinos.
Yeah, I'm not against chinos, but I am primarily more into denim.
Yeah.
Most guys are one or the other. Good to figure that out in the beginning and then buy a really good version that you love. I think it helps to have a few basic button-up shirts, like an Oxford cloth button-down, some flannel shirts. I think it's good to have a Shetland sweater. I think it's good to have a gray sweatshirt. We could go through this whole list, but the point is that you get all of these things, and it could be that that's the end. You are now, you have your wardrobe and that's it. That you are happy and you've moved on with your life.
Yeah.
And I think you will still look good. The other thing about this wardrobe is that it allows you to dabble in other things so that you can buy a barber jacket and wear that for a while. And then you figure out, I don't actually really like preppy Americana clothes. I want to wear the weird Japanese version.
Yeah.
Well, you can wear either
the same stuff,
the barber or the weird Japanese jacket with your denim. You don't have to
go
your
out, khakis,
or you don't have to go out and reinvent a whole new wardrobe.
Right.
So that's the point of this like boring wardrobe. But some of the guys that I talk to, a lot of them are you know, they tend to be kind of like middle-aged professionals. Many of them are dads. They work in some type of professional environment that requires them to dress a certain way. So,
and they're reaching out to you in order to dress for that environment, generally speaking.
yeah, like that, you know, oftentimes these are executives, you know, so they're not going to get fired. I mean, they're not going to show up to work in shorts and flip-flops, but they're not going to get fired based on what they wear. They just realize that they don't love what they wear. They don't enjoy what they have in their wardrobe, and then dressing for work and going to work, they realize that the clothes don't fit exactly right and they want to improve. But they also don't, you know, and I recognize this. I'm of two minds. I strongly believe that most men have more latitude than they believe at work in terms of what they wear.
Especially now.
You know, like if you work around people who are really honestly judging you by how you dress and not the output of your work, I think that's a really toxic company environment. And like, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think, it's very hard for me to believe that you're going to put on a sport coat and your boss is going to say you're fired, you know, like,
or even mention it.
I don't think that's going to happen. So I think a lot of guys have more latitude than they think at work. But I also think it's true when I talk to some of these clients that you don't necessarily want, especially if you're a leader on a team or something, you want people to be paying attention to what you're saying and not what you're wearing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so if
you don't want the clothes to speak louder than your voice.
Exactly. And so I think the clothes should support you. You should, it's good. It's nice to look good and feel confident and all that. But you also don't want it to be that like while you're talking, everyone's like thinking, what the hell is he wearing? Like that is a crazy outfit.
Not in that kind of environment.
Yeah. So I work with them to try to build a professional wardrobe, but one that is admittedly what could be described as boring. I will also say that boring is a very
it's relative.
It's a very relative statement, right? Like there are real out there fashionistas that will look at a double-breasted suit and think that's boring. Yeah. And then there's some guys who think a double-breasted is the craziest thing you can wear, you know? But generally speaking, I think, you know, we know what we're talking about when we're talking about a little bit more of a professional, slightly more boring wardrobe. And I do think that that makes sense for a certain kind of guy. Middle-aged guy, professional, works in a certain environment, you know, is a dad, he's not like working in the fashion industry. He's not going to fashion shows. He just wants to look better and doesn't necessarily want to be sticking out all the time.
So what would you say to a guy that is not like me and does not experiment with Southwestern motif robe coats and says, I like what I like. I'm a jeans, t-shirt, and Vans kind of a guy. But I do know that I need a navy sport coat. I do know that I need probably some Bluchers, some Darbys, or some loafers. I do know that I need these things for a future event. I need to have them handy, but I don't want to spend a lot of money. Maybe I do have the money, but how do I get into these things? How do I dip my toe into them? And I realize this is how I am, and then go further into that. Maybe refine what it is.
Well, we both often focus on the ideas of fit and silhouette. And so if you're 6'4" and you've got a size 48 chest, like, I'm sorry, like you're in the world of bespoke.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no cheap option there.
Yeah.
If you are, let's say 5'10" and you have a chest size that's 38 and your waist size is 30 or 32 and you have, you know, like fairly just normal squared shoulders, you know, like you're basically built like a coat hanger. So
you can experiment with anything.
I mean, these things may not fit, but you have a wider range of options. Right. So Spear and McKay that we talk about all the time, you know, you can get a Navy sport coat from them, I don't know, for like $300.
Yeah.
Right. So if that is a stretch, I've seen people thrift. Our friend Zach, who runs this Instagram called I'm a Lean Dad, he just posted a thrifted outfit the other day, fully thrifted outfit. I remember it was a Brooks Brothers gray tweed sport coat. He said he got it for $68. The thing with Zach is that he spends all his time thrifting. Yeah. So like if you're an executive,
you don't have that time.
You got to make these calculations. Like, look, you're either spending time or money.
Right.
So to me, the budget is more about what are the options available to you. And the larger the number of options, the more likely you're going to be able to get that thing that looks really beautiful on you.
So let's say you like jeans, and up to this point, you've only been wearing 501s.
Yeah.
What do you recommend for people like that?
So I recently worked with a client just like this. He's got some things that he knows he likes. One of them is jeans. He knows he likes sweaters, and he just wears some basic kind of like merino, kind of plain merino sweaters.
Yep.
And he knows he likes some button-up shirts. This is like what he wears to work. He wanted to also improve his tailored wardrobe. But we started with jeans, right? So I recognize that a lot of the stuff that we discuss on this pod is like super niche and makes no sense to anyone who has any sense in their brain. So I told him, listen, there is this world of raw denim. It is insane. You're going to sit on white couches and you're going to see a blue imprint of your ass.
That's called blocking.
You're crocking.
Crocking. Excuse me.
You're going to see a blue imprint of your ass on your white couch and your white car seat.
Your family will hate you.
You got to like figure out how you're going to wash these. And I think it yields the most beautiful fades. Now, is any normal person going to look at you and say, those are some beautiful fades?
Sick fades, bro.
If anyone does that, they're a menswear blogger. So I went through this whole thing and just explained, there is this thing that I think is beautiful and very personally satisfying.
Yeah.
It comes with, it's to me, because I also like fountain pens. To me, it's like fountain pens. As soon as you get into fountain pens, you realize why nobody uses fountain pens, right? So like the ink on your hands, the refilling, the cleaning, if you're really into fountain pens, you enjoy that. You think that's fun. But like your normal dad is not.
Just give me a roller. Just give me a Bic.
So I explained that whole thing to him. But the other thing is, again, fit and silhouette, right? Like how do your previous jeans fit?
Yeah.
And, he wanted to dress things down with a sport coat. And I said, well, why don't we try these other jeans that I think will work better with a tailored jacket?
What kind of jeans would you recommend for a tailored jacket?
I think Buck Mason's full saddle works really well.
It does. Yeah.
I think Levi's vintage clothing's 1947 501s also work well.
Classic.
Drake's and the Armory, two different companies, although sister companies, basically designed their jeans around this idea of wearing it with a sport coat.
Yep. I recommend the Carmel from Stevenson Overall Company.
Okay.
Higher waisted. Incredible detail if you're into that. It's the same price as any of these other Japanese brands, but you can tell them that they use single needle stitching.
Yeah.
All that good stuff. But it has a nice higher rise and a very, very, very slightly tapered bottom.
I've seen a lot of guys wear a sport coat jean successfully with Orslow's 105, 107s.
Yep. Yeah.
Those I think are not so baggy that you're going to feel weird, but they're also not so slim that they just can't work with a tailored jacket.
Right, yeah.
So I usually start guys somewhere that we try on different jeans and then see if it works with a tailored jacket.
Do they send you pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've worked with a few clients where I have them do the same thing.
Yeah.
Try on these different jeans, send me pictures.
Yeah.
Let me know what you think about the silhouette.
Right. And then, you lead them through, sometimes, for example, I'll send a client out to, recently I had a client, I sent him out to different stores. And then I said, technically all of these fit in that the collar hugs your neck and you don't have a shoulder divot and, pulling at the buttoning point. It technically fits. But to me, you don't look good in this one. You look good in this one. And I give the reasons because the silhouette does this. You explain it to them.
Right.
And I think once someone explains it to you, you're just training their eye.
Yeah.
So that you also explain it like, I try to not be too dictatorial about it in that, sometimes the flattering silhouette, that's not the only goal. The guy might feel cool in the other jacket, right?
It's hard for people to get their minds around that because yes, there is one style that is flattering and it's very mensweary to fit into that. But there are other silhouettes that are not flattering at all, but that's not the purpose.
It's not the purpose. It looks cool. It makes the person feel good.
Yeah.
I recently saw this.
Want to hear the rest? Listen to the full episode and many more other exclusive episodes over on our Patreon. Visit patreon.com/Blamo to sign up and join the Blam fam. You also get access to our exclusive members-only Slack group where we chat about this and a ton of other things. So head over to patreon.com/Blamo and we'll see you there.